So I create my own, so whatever, 200 or whatever, I put it in the string, so then the receiver always get something, but then you need to, before doing anything, need to read the message with a simple split. I decide that is semicolon, separate the code and the real response. That's it. That's what I do. Now, if you want to do it, or do this, normally the framework has a whole object and classes that handle this, but you can do that very simple. Yes. Because because you are controlling the response. You know the response. Okay. So you build this. You build this and you pass that, right? That's it.
So how about the parallel? So how can we control the error, the parallel process?
There are two things. Obviously, you need to if you want to control the error, right? It means you need to wait, and that's a typical problem in mobile programming. Okay? You need to wait because you have no idea when the error is going to be thrown. So then you cannot just simply call this, but you need to call it in a thread or whatever and then wait for that. But keep it simple. I mean, don't worry about that for now. Just make it sequential. Anyway, you are gonna wait. So the only difference is gonna be that you're gonna wait for two things that run in parallel or for one thing that run after the other, but these are very simple things anyway. Okay. If there is an option for error, you are gonna wait. You are gonna wait either in parallel or you are gonna wait one after the other. You may say that, and what is better? Well, it depends. But if they don't take much time to better address what it was said before, you don't do it in parallel. Because you do it in parallel and the first is successful, but the second is not. Then after the first has completed, you have to delete the first and the second. Or the other way around. I mean, parallel is okay when you parallel. There is a game where you don't need to wait, but when you need to wait, it depends. It's going to be much more complicated, the workflow, if you need to recover from error when you are doing things in parallel because you have no idea which one has completed or in which state they are. For those of you doing the mobile programming, that's why they are called suspended function, because they can be cancelled. But there's a whole whole technology to do that, which now in this case you have to do it by hand. So that's the reason keep it simple for now. Anything else? Yeah.
Two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is so based on the requirements.
Huh?
Based on the requirements.
Yes.
It means that now we try to implement solution number 2.
Yes.
Yes. And so the question number 2 is, so we want to make sure that uploading to S3 is successful before we can do edit below
Or the other way around.
yeah. So like they must.
But you need to be you need to. So let's say that the uploading is unsuccessful, then you shouldn't add the row. And let's say that the uploading is successful, but you are unsuccessful with the database. Then you should remove the object from the bucket.
So like they both succeed or none of them.
Correct. That's the transactional thing. Yes. So in this case, if the object is successful, that's the reason I was saying that when you make it sequential, it's a bit easier to get. You can do it the other way around. But so let's say let's say that I start with the upload the object. I will go the right way. Upload the object. Then let's say that that is successful. If that is not successful, I'm done. I don't do the adding the row. But if it's successful, I try adding the row. But if the row is not successful, then I need to delete the object. And if the object has been added with the resize, then I also need to delete the resize. Yeah. You do it by hand.
We do it by hand.
No, the database is not problematic.
No, I mean, I just bring up the point.
Yes.
So in the database has a transaction, then the action goes wrong and go back.
Correct.
So in this case, we do it manually. So you say that we upload the data, an image in S3, and then there's something wrong with the insertion of the database.
Yes.
And then we should delete the image into the S3. So what happens when the deletion is obvious as well? How do we handle that?
Then if the deletion is faulty, then you have to send a message say the deletion is you clean the mess. There's nothing else you can do.
Clean it manually.
But you have to tell the guy clean it manually. I mean, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. What can we do?
Do we have something similar to transaction in database?
I mean, you are asking whether S3 has something like a transactional state. I don't know, and I don't think so, because it's contrary to the philosophy of a web. I mean, what does it mean transactional? Think about it. What happened? Why we don't like? Why transaction in databases? We don't like it. We need it, but we don't like it. Need a lot of extra resources, and then there is one thing that we hate. State. Then you have a whole system, call it the database, call it the S3, which is kind of waiting, keeping like a state of how things were before, and waiting for things to happen. That's not according to the philosophy of web services. So that's the reason I say I don't think so. It will require, I mean, the fact that databases support transaction is a lot of work for the databases, a lot. And not all the databases support transactional. So no, I don't think so. It goes against the philosophy. Could it be done? Yes, it could be done. Yes, it could be done. You just need to get the packet. You can do it by yourself, okay? Okay. Let me tell you something that you'll say, come on. You do it by yourself. There is a upload an object, because you know that it may fail and you may not be able to delete later. You know what you do? You make a copy of the whole bucket. Put it somewhere. Do all things. It failed. Try to delete. You cannot, but you have inserted, right? Okay. Copy so move the copy is the new bucket. I mean, that's what the database does. That's what they do. In a smart way, but it's against the philosophy of web services, against the philosophy of everything. Can you do it? Yes, you can do it. Don't do it. The question, however, is when we stop. I mean, you can always go like, what if, what if, what if? So that's also what we were saying before about you do iteration until you feel yourself that is good enough. There could be exceptional cases, yes. Then you have to handle fault tolerance, yes. But when things are critical, when things are not critical, it's another. It's a typical thing of. Is it better a password of 30,000 characters than a password of 2 characters? Yes, right? It's more secure. But nobody remembers 36 characters. So you make something that is very fault tolerant but requires so many resources that nobody can use it. So then what's the point? Okay, any other question? So please work on that. I'm gonna put the activity. Now my advice is, again, don't worry about the front end for now. Work about the Lambda. Then my advice is, all of you, the ones who were using the trigger, all of you are using trigger, right? If you think about the resizer, is actually many. The resizer has a get object, has a put object, has a make the resize, so it's several Lambda. Solve the problem first with the trigger. So forget for a moment about the resizer. Solve the problem of the database and upload the object with the orchestrator, as you did, right? Then once you do that, then go to the upload and remove the trigger and create the new lambdas. Okay? Or reuse the old lambda.
Sorry.
So right now, what he did was this. Lambda upload object, a lambda is a row, right? Plus the orchestrator here. Here. And this one called this guy, right? Now, this lambda upload object in your code has a trigger to call the resizer. Yes? Yes? Right. I mean the bucket has the trigger. I don't want this. So you need to modify, you need to do something more than this. The upload object now itself, I mean, the orchestrator need to call more things, and the workflow is more complicated. But for all of you, first start with the trigger. Just make sure that the orchestrator with these two guys work. The main technical difficulty is what I told you, that you have to keep in mind that there is a body, and that you need to take the JSON or create the JSON and pass the JSON. That's it. Once you have done this, okay, and it's working, then remove the trigger, and then you need to complete this. Yes? So, iteration.
So in the resizer part, so after we remove the trigger, so
Then you remove the trigger. When you unlock the object, there is nothing in the resize bucket.
So a solution would be in the lambda orchestrator, we call the lambda upload S3, and then once the lambda upload S3 is successful, the orchestrator will call the lambda resizer.
Yeah, we'll call the lambda resizer. We'll call the lambda resizer. Now remember that the lambda resizer, the way you have it, is for an event coming from S3, not for an event coming from IP gateway. So you have to modify the lambda resizer. Now, the lambda resizer, if you remember the code that I passed you, actually contain the code of an upload and the code of a get object, because what it does is go to the resizer, take the key, go to with that key to the S3, get the object, call the resize function, get the bytes, upload the bytes in the. So the resizer, as you have it right now, has 3 problems, not 2 problems. First, it expects an event from S3, not a call. So you have to modify. Second, inside, you can decompose because it's doing things that you already have lambdas. You have lambda for upload, it's just a different bucket. And you have lambda for get. So you should decompose that. By decompose means, look at this, look at the code. Show me the code of the lambda, or show me your code of the lambda. The lambda resizer. You will see. Right, the lambda resizer. Right, first problem. You cannot use this in your orchestrator. First problem. Look at this. It's waiting for an S3 event. But now it's not going to be an S3 event. It's going to be a lambda invocation as the other ones. So you have to modify that first. Second, and you have to modify this, yes. So of course this doesn't make any sense because it's not like this. This is you are gonna get the body, okay? But my point is, go down. Right, go down a bit more. Look at this. You have this code here. This is getting the object, which is implemented in a private function. Here, go down, method. This thing. This is your lambda get object. So instead of having here, you should call that lambda. This code is repeated. This code is if you look at it, that's the code of your lambda get object. So this is repeated. The put object is the code of your upload object. So that shouldn't be there. If you are orchestrating, you are orchestrating. You are decomposing the problem into parts that can be reused.
So we just replace the code here with the two lambda URLs.
With whatever, yeah, whatever lambda, yeah. And then you may have to modify those lambdas so that it can work nicely with this. Yeah, that's the refactoring. That is typical when you are working a project. You have a first version and then you keep improving to make it a better architecture, a better design. Okay? But step by step, as I said. First what you did, but on the server side, if this works, then go and work on the resizer. Okay? Don't. Any other question? Yes.
Okay, so about the upload to the database, so what?
No, there is no upload to the database. Insert to the database, yeah.
So we're gonna insert the original photo or the resized photo.
I'm gonna kill you. You don't upload a photo in the database. Never in your life. What do you do? No, insert what? You insert the photo?
With the key.
The key, right?
So which key?
Think about it. Which key? Which key?
The resized.
No. So you have the original and the resize, right? So the resize is generated from the original, right?
Yeah.
Always the same, right? So why on earth you have to keep the resize? Typical error of first year. I have seen in many students. Oh, because then I don't have to calculate it. Come on, how long does it take to get the new string? No time. You don't lose information, you keep the original always. question? You make decision, okay? All of you, and that's the reason some of you ask me, how do I do things? You need to make your decision. I could have done the code with the keeping the resize. It's your decision. Now, it could be better or worse. But you have to, when you write a project, you keep making decisions about things like we were talking before, stop the mobile, please, stop the mobile. Or if you read the mobile, don't smile, because then it's very clear that you are not listening to me. Because I'm not saying anything funny. So, as a programmer, when you do a project, there are tons of decisions that you make. Tons. As the error code, the things, how do you handle, everything. You just need to be consistent. And there's not only one way of doing things. So someone of you was asking me, how do I do this exactly? That's the wrong question. There's no exactly. It depends. And this is becoming complex. So for sure, you guys are going to be doing different things. The code is going to be different. Okay, so the important thing is take note. You make the decision, when there is an error, I'm passing this. Then the receiver needs to know that. Okay?
Any other question?
So I'm going to write the...
ngu và hấp dẫn hơn người ta mà. Không chuyện máy mà có làm gì không? Xíu không biết làm sao. Tự nhiên nói gì rồi tên gì là trên Momo ở quay sắp bị bày nó đẹp hơn thì biết người ta đang lúc nào khi nào mình không trả được hạn thì mình xúc thôi.
Okay, so this is the thing that for next week, and we still have a few weeks, so it's gonna get a bit more complicated. So I said, I have simplified things, so listen, because otherwise you do more than what I ask, and then you get things complicated. So this is version 01, and you will see the difference. So I said, to upload a new file, the user must provide the request, the key, the description, and the content. This is what we discussed. Then this is when uploading a new file, the system will attempt to complete the following activities: the key and description of the file, and inserting the corresponding table in the RDS database. You need to use an RDS database. The files uploaded in the S3 bucket for original files. You need to use S3 with one bucket. The resize version in the S3 bucket for resize. The user should be informed in the response about the results, success or error, and why of the above activities. Meaning, you don't need to do the recovery if there is an error. Okay? Don't worry about that. Just make sure that if there is an error, it is recorded and passed to the user in the response. Okay, so you don't need to implement the transactional thing. Don't add if then else to your code, okay, which is already complicated. Except that make sure that there is an error, you catch it, and then you, in the response, in the string, you say uploading was successful, database was unsuccessful, blah blah. That's it. So that's the first step. Okay, that's the iterative part. You first know how to catch the error. Then if you know how to catch the error, then you know how to fix the error, but not for this week. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, I have a question about
Yes.
chaining the Lambda functions together. Since if we're having a Lambda A, and then we're calling Lambda in Lambda, which is we're calling B and C, and which the cost will be built to A for the duration of B plus the, if you
Correct.
wait, right?
Correct. So two things. One, remember that you are calling Lambda. So make sure this is not your question, but remember that you are going to modify the IAM to give permission to the new Lambda to do things. Remember that. Okay. Second, because this Lambda, the orchestrator is calling the other Lambda. And this is going to take some time, this is going to take some time, this is going to take some time, this is going to take some time. Okay? And this line is waiting for all of them because we want to catch the error. So you have to wait. So this line is going to take the sum of all that. If they are running parallel, then it's going to be less. But make sure to give to this lambda, the orchestrator, more time than 15 seconds. Otherwise, you will get a sandbox out of time.
Is there a better architecture better way to do this?
You need to orchestrate, right? There is no such a thing as free lunch. Either you do it or you pay for someone else to do it. One of the two. There is no free lunch. So the question is, do you need to wait or not? Okay? So that's the key thing. So if it is a workflow, someone needs to control the workflow. Someone needs to monitor the state of the workflow. Either you do it or you pay AWS to do it. That's it. It's not free lunch. It is the same thing. If you have one Lambda that does all these things, it is the same thing. It takes the same time. With the difference is that you cannot reuse that. And you cannot test. Now you're gonna test every Lambda. Don't get too obsessed with optimization. It's a mistake. When some of you work on these kind of competitions, and it's just, I think it's okay for the 70s, not for the 2000s. Computers are fast. So it's much better to have a good design than to have a bad design, but to increase like 1 second or whatever. It's just not relevant. But anyway, the point is, if it's a workflow and this is a workflow, then somewhere you need to implement that. Okay? Now, in terms of efficiency, of course, if these guys are unrelated, you could run it in parallel. Okay? It's just that you need to wait for all them to complete in order to provide. So, but don't worry about that for now. Any other question? Yes.
So in the final exam, it's like, for example, a question is like, here is the code.
No, it's your code. You have to bring your code, and then I will say, indicate in your code, if I want to do this, how do you change your code?
So like, it's like an interview.
Is that?
It's like an interview, so like you
No, it's not an interview because I don't have the time to interview each of you, but you will bring your code and then you will answer in your code and then you give the code to me with your answer.
But like the code of each student is different.
Yes,
and,
so I
like,
have to look at the code of each student, yes.
So you look at the code of each student and you create a set of questions.
No, all of you are doing the same thing, right? All of you are doing the same thing, right? Differently, but all of you are doing the same thing, right? So let's say, for example, that I don't know, I say, in addition to the typical question, in addition to the description, you need to add the date. Tell me, where in your code you change things? And you will say, in line 25, in line 20, and I go and look at that line, and it makes sense or may not make sense.
So we send you both our code and the solution.
Correct. Correct. So the point for me is to understand, because everybody can copy the code, right? But if you copy the code and you don't understand the code, then you cannot answer the question. That's it. Yeah. What?
I mean, for preparation.
For what?
For just prepare before the exam, do we need to prepare like that, or can we use the already?
I don't understand the question. Be precise. First, be precise. Second, don't worry too much about the exam. Worry about learning. I say several times, in the exam you will bring the code that you have done in the class. You don't need to write code. You need to explain your code. You don't need to write code. You need to explain your code. It's gonna be a simple question because I cannot read the whole code. But question that if you have written the code, then you know how to answer. You have not written the code, you have no idea how to answer. I know how to ask this question. You don't need to write code. And it could be about the policy, it could be about any other thing that we have done.
Do we need to remember the exact syntax or like every?
No, you don't write code. You need to understand your syntax. You don't need to write code. I will not ask you to write code. I will ask you what would you change? That's it. Simple. You don't have the computer. If you have the computer, I will ask you to write code. But you don't have it. Unfortunately, they don't let you to use the computer. So unfortunately, I cannot ask you to write code. Because I'm not going to ask you to remember the syntax. I myself don't remember the syntax of anything. So, do the exercise and it's simple. You don't do the exercise, it's very complicated. Don't worry about the front end. I'm not going to look at the front. Lambda. You need to test this on the server, not on the front end. Otherwise, you have problems in the front end, which has nothing to do with the solution. So, a couple of things. I have added, you don't have to do it, but just in case you get bored and you want to practice a bit of Java, execute 1, 2, 3 concurrently. Okay, that's to kind of make it faster. Still, you need to wait. But instead of if the first one takes 2 seconds, the second one takes 5, and the third one takes 10, instead of waiting 13 seconds, you wait 10 seconds. Okay? But don't do it if you have that's extra. Second, if you are tired of the waiting for the Lambda to get one, then use Amazon Event Bridge. Okay? Just a second. Amazon Event Bridge. Basically, you can look on internet. It's free. Basically, what it does is you create a schedule. So in my case, I have in another project, I need to keep the Lambda warm. So actually, I have a Lambda that calls all the Lambdas that I'm using in the project, all the APIs. So it's like keeping a server, always ready. So basically, every 5 minutes, this Lambda warmer, that is my Lambda, is called. And that Lambda calls all the other Lambdas, which means I have all the Lambdas always, every 5 minutes at least, which is basically the time that it takes the Lambda to get called. Okay? That is free.
Excuse me. So
Huh?
by running 1, 2, 3 concurrently, do you running them in parallel?
Yeah.
If we run them in parallel, then like if one thing fails, the other still work, like no waiting and no dependency.
That's what I'm saying. But in the version of this week, we do not recover. We just report. So in that sense, it's not problematic to run in parallel because there are no dependencies, right? So in this case, one is adding the row. That needs the key and the description. The second one is adding the file. That doesn't need anything from the database.
So we just ignore the transactional properties.
Just like what I said. That's what I said here. We don't worry about that this week. We just catch the error and report the error. I say that and I repeat, don't worry about the transactional thing. Okay? It will make things much, much more complicated. And not the only thing that you have to be aware, okay? This system of calling the Lambda, your Lambda sometimes take, for example, you want to keep the orchestrator, or you want to keep the uploads one. Now the upload actually upload. So if you call the upload, it will upload. So you have to modify your upload so that when it receives a specific key, for example, which you know that should never be the name of an object, then it doesn't upload the object, but rather it says, okay, fine, I got, this is just a warm code. I don't do anything. So there's gonna be in every of your, if you use this, which is one of the ways to do it, you have to modify your lambda so that it starts with an if then else. Is this something for me to do, or is this just a warm up call? If it's a warm up call, I don't do anything. If it's not, I do something.
Like, for example, if my upload function expects a
Your upload function expect the key and the content. Right. So in one, so you can either add one more key value pair to the JSON, which say yes or not, true or false, and then if it's true, I do something. If it's false, I don't do anything. Or so that's possible, right? Or because you are the one who are sending the call. Or you agree with yourself that when the key of the file is whatever, impossible or whatever, something that is, then it's a warm-up call. You don't need to do this for this, and just mention this so that you solve the problem of the warm-up call, but you don't, it's not part of the activity, okay? Don't worry about that, worry about the other thing.
And one more question.
Yeah.
So like, say that with Amazon language, we can pick a lambda function one by calling it every 5 minutes. So like, which lambda function are we keeping one? The lambda orchestrator or
All.
the lambda?
All. Because if you keep the lambda orchestrator warm, the lambda orchestrator is calling the other lambda, right? So then it means it's gonna take time. So if you want to work as a server, you need to have all. So that's the reason you need to modify all, which I don't want you to do it this way. I mean, in case you have time, go this. But the key thing is that you don't want the lambda to execute full, also because you don't want to pay. You just want the lambda to execute the minimum, just to say, oh, someone called me, I wake up.
And suppose that I make all the lambda functions one. So like, should I expect that my view is gonna go?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have 1 million lambda calls a month for free. So if it's every 5, I made the calculation, and I have all my lambda calls, and it's still free. Every 5 minutes. But yes, if you have like 1,000 lambda calls and you call it every 5 seconds, then you do the multiplication. I mean, there's a limit of the, so the lambda the price depends on the calls that you make of the lambda and the duration of the lambda. So that's the reason you want to make, if you are making this solution, then you want to make like no duration, like I check that is something and then return nothing. But at least for me, in the last 2 months, 3 months I have been doing that, there is no difference in the cost. And I'm 20. Okay. Yeah, that's the answer. Anyway, as always, check that is true what I say in your cost. Anything else? No? Then go. I mean, you want to go? If you have finished, you can go.
đâu rồi? Ở đâu rồi?
chưa là mới dạ. Giờ đang chỉnh lại để cho nó OS station.